Hey, I hope you guys are doing well today. One of the things that I realize is that, doing these videos is really helping me to practice and work on my self expression because the way that I grew up, my personal situation, I was not really, I was listened to, but not really seen. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like someone that's listening to the noise, but not really hearing the words that you're saying. So it's not really the same at all as being actually seen. Just going to do a little bit of, yes, change this around. Let me just make sure the sound is still going. Let's see. Oh, this one is closed. Yes. Can you guys hear me? Testing, testing, one, two, three. Yeah, cool, perfect. Always doing okay. So welcome back, guys. Another reparenting. This is really helping me to work and practice on my self-expression because sometimes I realize that because of the way that I grew up in that kind of like clamping down situation, I've kind of reduced how I express myself. I don't laugh as much. I don't use as much hand gestures, my body language, the way that I speak, the words that I use, and so forth. So this is really helping me to practice. And I definitely suggest that you do something similar. If you have not created your own podcast or YouTube channel, it helps you to see the way that you come across, the way that you're communicating, how you can gauge your energy and understand how you are appearing to other people. All of these things are so important. And so with that out of the way, having done the sound check, today we're going to go back to chapter 7. I think this is still on chapter, no, sorry, we're in chapter 10. This is called Feeling is Healing. And this section is called Connecting to Your Needs. And it's on page 108, I believe. I don't even know if you guys can take like a screenshot of that or something. In case you want to. It's not necessary. I also suggest you buy the book because there are many exercises you can go through here. It's quite a good resource. And so here we are connecting to your needs. As with feelings, we often learn from dysfunctional families to ignore, downplay, or feel ashamed about our needs. Stop doing that. Stop feeling ashamed about your needs. You should feel ashamed of your parents who denied you the knowledge that you need to live a normal life. If anything, that's where the shame belongs, on your parents. So externalize it back onto them and stop internalizing all of the bullshit. Because unless you can stop the pattern at its root, your parents were the first ones to push their emotions onto you. And then you develop these feelings of over responsibility, over accountability. Oh, I need to worry about what are they feeling. Oh no, my partner is sad. I need to do something for them. Oh no, my friend doesn't like me anymore. I need to. All of this bullshit is unnecessary. If you realize how um what do you say? I don't want to say normal or stable. Like how many people operate is just really from that self-center, and everybody else just has to manage their own thing. And so when you have been programmed to be over functioning and doing emotional labor for other people, unless you break that pattern, you're going to continue it in your other relationships, and then you're going to end up completely depleted, drained, and with a life that's not worth living anymore. So it's so important that we learn to push those negative emotions back onto the parents who gave them to us in the first place. you know Part of that is doing the no contact, cutting them off, setting boundaries, enforcing those boundaries, and refusing to be gaslit anymore. It's not necessary. It's really not necessary. That is the fastest way that you will be able to change your life. And in this ACA program, a lot of times they say, oh, I need to separate with love or something like this. And, I'm not saying that you need to separate with hate or rage or something, but if someone has treated you so bad for so long, your parents, has shown no protection or guidance or nurturing or support or whatever it is for your personal situation, I've seen many different things: physical abuse, sexual, all of these things. You don't need to separate from that person with love. If there was sufficient positive, because sometimes the positives and negatives are more balanced. But if it's just all negative and no positive, then what the fuck is separating from with love? You don't need that, because you telling yourself, I love this person, but I cannot have them in my life, is the most bullshit thing I ever seen in my life. People say, oh, you have to love your parents. That's bullshit. You love parents who treat you with respect, who honor you, who show up for you, who protect you, who know who the fuck you are. If your parents don't know anything about you and you're still telling yourself that you love them, that's disgusting. Because what's going to happen is that you're training your brain, your subconscious mind, to say, this is love. Me not being seen, that's love. Me getting physically abused, verbally abused as aid, that's love. That's what you're telling your subconscious mind when you accept these people who treat you that way. And when you put that in your subconscious mind, you're going to be emitting that energy, and you're going to be continuously attracting these abusive relationship patterns, which we don't have time for. Going on with the reading, this leaves us without the skills or vocabulary to talk about them, which is our emotions and the needs. If our caregivers shamed us for expressing or having needs, this might have led us to deny them for fear of being too needy. However, there's a big difference between having needs and being needy. Everyone has needs. They identify what we require to be healthy, safe, and fulfilled. Codependency is rooted in our tendency to avoid our needs and feelings or to expect that another person will meet all of our needs. Being told we're too needy for having needs is convenient for caregivers and others who aren't willing to meet them. However, sometimes we might indeed have an unhealthy level of dependence on them. Becoming aware of this balance is part of our healing and learning. Responding to our own needs in a healthy way is an important part of the reparenting process and recovery in general. It requires time and patience, but eventually we become skilled at doing so. All human beings share core needs. For example, all humans have a need for sustenance, safety, and love. Everything we do is an attempt to meet a conscious or unconscious need. Needs point us towards what will make our lives happier and healthier and help us find strategies to fulfill them. When our needs are met, we tend to have pleasant feelings. Unmet needs tend to trigger unpleasant feelings. Learning that our feelings come from needs can help us become actors, influencers. As we go to the Kabbalion, we become the actor, not the pawn being used by other people. People don't want to admit it, but this means influence, aka manipulation. You don't want to say manipulation because that assumes that the influencing is at the cost of someone else, but that's basically how the world works. Influencing is a bit more mutual, but you have to be able to influence your environment to build a life worth living. You have to be able to influence your environment to meet your needs. Because when they say no one is coming to save you, no one is coming to meet your needs unless you're able to influence your external environment to serve your needs. Going back to the reading, needs point us to what will make our lives happier, healthier, and help us find strategies to fulfill them. When our needs are unmet, we have pleasant feelings. When our needs are met, we tend to have pleasant feelings. When they are unmet, we tend to have unpleasant feelings. Learning that our feelings come from our needs help us become actors who find ways to meet our needs rather than reactors who judge and blame ourselves and others when our needs aren't met. Again, taking responsibility for your capacity to influence your environment. Realizing that others can trigger our feelings, but they can't make us feel in a certain way, can be an empowering revelation. We can identify what needs of ours is met or unmet in a situation, rather than attribute the cause of our feelings to others. If we value our needs, it's more likely others will too. The inner child might not know or trust that it's okay to have wants and needs. They might feel uncomfortable requesting what they need or even acknowledging a need. Asking for what we need is breaking the don't trust, don't feel rule. It can bring changes, uncertainty, and possible disappointments or embarrassment. That is why becoming our own loving parent is so crucial. We can help the inner child let go of false beliefs such as it's weak to have needs or it's selfish to ask for what you need. Our loving parent can help the inner child cope with the feelings and tell them, your needs matter. I will find healthy ways. I will find ways to meet your needs. Um, Again, if you're in a world where people are not choosing the healthiest ways, I mean, that's not saying that you want to follow an unhealthy path, but if you strict yourself to say, oh, I'm only going to get my needs met in the right way and everybody else is running amok, like you're going to get run over and treated like a doormat. So this is part of the naivety that's in this program, this kind of like Christian be good, thinking. Again, it's not saying to be bad, but it's like you need to be real about how the real world works, because if not, you're going to stay stuck in this pattern forever and ever and ever and ever. Continuing with the reading, when inner child has self-worth, honoring our needs, making requests, and not taking someone's no personally becomes much, much easier. Ultimately, the more we reparent ourselves, the more we the more we reparent, the more we trust that it's okay to stand up for our needs and to set boundaries. So here's like a quick example that we're gonna exercise. I'm gonna read through. Consider checking in with yourself once a day to notice what need is live. Could you check with both your inner child and your inner teen? Emotions and physical sensations that arise when you check in can be pointers to what you need. If a part of you judges your needs in any way, you might need to set a boundary, such as we were taught to judge our needs harshly. I'm practicing accepting them and learning how to meet them. You might be able to meet all of your needs, and at other times, you can think of who could help you meet them. So, this is the end of this reading section for today. And it goes on to ask you, identifying your needs from your behavior. So, they have this really interesting worksheet here. It can be quite beneficial. So, it shows you how to walk through identifying and connecting your behaviors with your needs. How not even your own, but it will also allow you to understand how other people's behaviors are expressing their needs too. Um, so it's really interesting, again, a really interesting book. And I think that you should check it out. Despite the renting that I had earlier, there is some value still in this book. And yeah, I think that's all that we're talking about today. So thanks for being here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.